do this.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Evolution on Your Mindset today with Mac and Jenn. And we're going to talk about a subject that we have different opinions a little bit on, kind of similar, but we're actually going to be talking about toxic people and the people that are in your life that you deal with, and some that you throw out, or people you know of, and just in general, what might that look like and what is it? So toxic in general, a toxic person is somebody that essentially lowers your vibration if you're around them. So if you're associating with them, and this could be people inside your house, it could be people at your job, it could be people you interact with through the day, people you have to deal with or people you don't have to deal with. And so there's a lot of differentiation through this, but to give you a little bit of an idea, to kind of separate a few of these so we can kind of be clear on it. The reality is there's a saying that says you will become that of your five best friends, and sometimes you could even refer that to say you are the least of your five closest friends, which means the five people you associate with the most, because it's an influence. If you're around five people consistently day after day after day, even if you wouldn't call them a friend, because you're around them, they're going to influence you in some way, shape, or form. Now, the degree of influence can also be differentiated upon your level of competence, your subconscious programming, your ability to kind of reject what they say or know the truth. And so there are variations to this, but you really have to consider that the people that you surround yourself with are very important, and how much of what is said comes in your mind or out of your mind. Just like, this is a different subject, but it could do with what you see on social media, what you watch on TV, what you see in movies, what you believe, think, a lot of different things. But just to kind of give a more pinpoint, let's talk about the people that we have to deal with day to day, or week to week, or month to month. The people that they're going to call, or you're going to run into them, or you have to go to work with them, or whatever that is. And I would say that the majority of people that I deal with on a regular basis are somewhat toxic. Like the people coming in and out of my business, the people that I see on the street, and different things. Now, they don't get to influence me because I know where to put them. I know how to move them from place to place. But the people that do influence me are the people that I spend quality time with. So there's an intention between saying, okay, I have to deal with this customer. I know they're going to come in and talk about the weather, or talk about their problems, or talk about whatever. And I just have to kind of be kind, meet them where they're at, and understand them, but reject any of the ideas that they present. And I can be also aggressive on this, but before I kind of get into this too much, I'm going to let Jenn kind of give a little bit of her part on how she maybe sees this or deals with it or whatever.
Well, just listening to you talking, like what came up for me was I started thinking about the time when I started really growing and transitioning and becoming into this like new version of myself. And I remember specifically like one week where I was really struggling with releasing like quote unquote toxic people from my life. And I say quote unquote because this is where we differ, where I don't really like to call people toxic, or I don't like to say like they're toxic. I like to say that, they may be toxic for me,
Mhm.
but like I don't really like to say they're toxic. But anyways, when I was struggling with changing, I was growing, I was outgrowing my circle. And there was one week in particular where I was really struggling with it. And I was crying a lot and calling other like mentors of mine. And I'm like, I just feel like, nobody likes me anymore. Uh, and it was just a really hard time. One of my mentors, she said, Jen, circle change is necessary for growth. And that like really stuck with me because it's so true with every, like when I say circle change, it's like who you surround yourself with, your 5 people, right? And if you want to grow and do better, be better, become more, you have to surround yourself with people that have what you want. And if you are surrounded by the same quote unquote toxic people that are holding you back, or people that drain your energy, and people that just aren't moving in the direction you want to go, you're never going to move if you continue with them. That same exact week, another mentor of mine told me that if I want to fly with the eagles, I need to stop pecking with the chickens.
Mm. Just like, if you want things in your life to change, you're going to have to change some things in your life. And the relevance is, if you're still around the same people and their behaviors are still the same as they were before, you're not making changes. Like, you might have made minor changes, but if they're still in your vibrational frequency, it means there's something not changing enough for you. Either they're making changes with you, or they kind of get put aside. Now, there some may come with you and some may not. It doesn't mean you have to abandon them, but you have to be the one that decides, this cannot exist. This influence must go away. And often it's painful because there's a moment of almost like loneliness that can happen between the time you let go of one before you gain the next one. And then sometimes you have to let go of that one to gain the next one, and then you got to let go of that one and so it's this work of progress that works up.
That's what it was for me during that like rough week that I had, where I really felt a period of loneliness,
Mm.
because I knew that if I were to continue hanging out with those people, I wasn't going to grow. I needed change. Like, I needed new people. And I kept hearing, trust that people more aligned with you where you're going will come into your life. You just need to trust. And that's what I did. And that's exactly like what happened, was that I was able to let my old, people go that were somewhat toxic for me, and make room to allow in people that were moving
You put it so kindly. They're somewhat toxic,
somewhat
pain in
toxic
the
for me.
ass.
But I will
So
say that um I've cut 2 people out of my life, completely out of my life. And so I would say that, if somebody is actually feels toxic to you, if somebody continues to drain your energy so much so that every time you're with them, you just can't, those people are the people that I would say kind of just got to go. And I've cut 2 of those people out of my life completely, where I don't even like answer the phone when they call. I stopped answering their text messages, like
yeah.
totally gone, right?
So to speak to some of the people that are going to have the challenges of going through this, right? Like, we both know the struggles. So what did you ever try to fix them, or coax them into learning more, or advancing in some way? Did you ever experience that? 'Cause I did.
Um, I mean, I just, with those particular people that I cut out, like I don't remember trying to change them.
What about just anybody in general?
Other people in general, yes, I have tried to.
And how'd that work out?
It did not work out very
Mm,
good.
no. Usually they wind up just dragging you down, right?
What happens is when I get excited about something, and I like about my growth, or I'm changing or doing something exciting, and I go to those people, typically they I don't think they intentionally try to drag us down, but their own fears creep in.
Justifications.
Hmm.
Right.
And it feels like they're trying to drag us down because we don't feel supported by them. They don't get their validation, or them to cheer. Oh yeah, you got this. Like, no, we don't get that kind of support. So then we feel like they don't want us to succeed. We feel like judged by them, all the things. And then we tend to want to dim down our own lights, or not go after our goals or our dreams.
Or even just get stuck in our own head, thinking about, like, why are they doing this? Or, and exhaust our energy on a subject with a person that's never, they're not meant to come with you. And, it would be, especially somebody that's younger, well, it doesn't necessarily mean younger. I've dealt with people in their 50s with this, with their parents, and where they're making changes for the better, and their parents are looking at them like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And they begin to question them, and just the questioning alone is ripping the support from them and draining their energy. And the individual that's trying to grow knows they're on the right path, and they know they should keep going, but they don't have support. So they're looking to the person they know the best, which it would be a parent or loved one or maybe wife or husband in that matter. And they ask this question. They're like, "Oh, I found this thing, everything else." Well, you have to remember that this other person is probably as weak as they were at some point. They're trying to survive, so they're going to justify their position. So, if I start saying, "Oh, we can even do this thing and everything else," and if you're in a place where you're not happy and content, like really content with your life, you'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" Because now you in a way, it's actually stripping them of their identity, even though you're just excited and want support. What begins to happen is there begins a battle, and you walk away from the conversation feeling like crap, knowing that you're going in the right direction, but now spending all your energy and like, why is this person not supporting me? Why can't they do this? What if I just, maybe they'll see it, and it's just like, no, you just need to let go. You have to let go and find somebody like a coach or a mentor, like she talked about, that can actually say, it's okay. Like, this is gonna happen. Don't talk to them. Like, literally, do not talk to them. Like, one day they're gonna wake up and realize they're screwed. And the more that wake up and feeling like they got kicked in the nuts or punched in the face hits them, the more likely they are to actually change. But when you go to them day after day after day, trying to peck away at the like changes, thinking that this is going to work, that's actually helping them build up their wall of defense against you and build evidence against you, and they're gonna find evidence to discredit you. Now it doesn't um, a lot of people do this unconsciously. They don't look at it and be like, I'm going to tear you down. That what they do is they're like, I'm just trying to keep me up. And then there becomes this war of two people trying to keep each other up, but what they're doing is tearing each other down. And so it's very, very destructive. So like, to kind of go back to, give me some of the challenges you faced as you let go of people. Like, well, you quit drinking, like your life revolved around drinking at one point, right? Like, and
Hmm.
mine kind of did a little bit too at a certain point. I mean, what happened
What happened with what?
as you let go of people? Like, did they attack? Did they?
It wasn't like I didn't necessarily feel attacked or anything when I was letting go of people. I felt more judged and
Mm,
just more like loneliness. That was like my feelings. It was because I I didn't want to continue on with that like lifestyle, but so I was pulling away, but I didn't feel supported by any of them. And now looking back, I know that I don't think it was that they didn't necessarily support me. It was just that as I grew, it reflected back on them what they weren't doing, right? And so it was like, I mean, I just felt lonely because it was like I don't want to do this anymore. I love you guys, but like I don't want to do this anymore. So I was like I had to find new people. I don't know what else to say, and so that's what I did.
yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why we like personal development events, because we go there and we're associating with people, other like-minded people that want to grow. They're looking at life saying, I want something better. And it's like, yeah, those are the people we want to be around, instead of the people sitting on the bar stools telling the stories from high school, how amazing they were in high school at, 50 years old. So it's a complete change and shift. I've had plenty of people throughout the years tell me, you need to slow down. Like, and we're not talking about successful people. I have had mentors tell me to slow down as well in a different light, but I've had people from like high school tell me, well, you need to slow down and smell the roses. And I'm like, what roses? Like the stuff that you think is roses is like dog shit to me. Like, this isn't roses. Like, I see a world so much bigger. And so one of the things that I would do is I would be aggressively sarcastic in a little bit of a sense, because I wanted to shut them up like instantly. And after going through the experiences of trying to, man, check this out, and then they would tear you, they'd be like, oh, that's stupid or whatever, and whatever, there's this battle that happens. It's like, whoa, this is just causing me nothing but pain. I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna stop. And then at one point it switches to where I'm like, I know what this is. And to be honest, I've been through enough crap and enough pressure and enough many attacks. Like I was bullied as a kid. So it's like, I mean, I just thought it was normal. I'm not like, I'm bullied enough. I don't give a shit. I'm more like, why am I giving my power away to these other people? That was always my question as I was going through struggles. I was never like, if I feel bad, there's something I can do about it, not something they need to do about it. Never a victim. And so I learned how to show up differently. And within that, I knew that I had to learn how to not care what other people think, especially losers. Now it's something that's internal going through a childhood and everything else, that it kind of never really goes away. As far as like, what are people going to think? It's very easy for me to get caught up in what someone's thinking, but I've kind of built in the structure to say, like, does it matter? Just asking myself the question, does it matter what they think? No, it has no relevance to me, period. Like the only person I care that thinks like whatever is God. That's it. When it comes down to it. So I would come up with these snark, kind of sarcastic things where somebody'd be like, well, what makes you think you can do that? It, what makes you think you have an opinion here? I just throw it back in their face, or somebody says, "Oh, that'll never work." You mean kind of like this never worked, and I'll start stacking evidence on them. But there's a level of respect where I say, this is where I respect me, and if you don't respect me here, you are not a friend, you are an enemy. And so when these kind of statements come in, I was very quick to flip them on them and hit, like they're throwing a punch in a sense, I'm throwing a punch with them. But here's where I kept friendships, the little balance that I had. And this is my personality. She just loves everybody. So, it's like, it's a little different. She just gives them their space and whatever. I'm more aggressive. I have fun with it. So if somebody says, well, why don't you stop and smell the roses? And I would literally say things like, where's the roses, dude? Like, what? Well, what do you do? I asked him, what do you do? Well, I'll go up in the mountains and go camping, or I'll go spend times. I'll go to these theaters and everything else. I'm like, okay, so you're getting in a truck, you're getting in a camper that that the bank owns, that you don't own, and you work a job that somebody else tells you when you're going to work, how you're going to work. And I said, when was the last time you could just walk away from everything and go on vacation? Like, just tomorrow, you'd like to, if I said tomorrow we're going here, could you do it? No, you can't. I can. Now I don't, because I keep working. But the idea is much different. And I continue to chase things. So I said, what you call roses is prison. So why don't you take your prison and keep it to yourself? They're like, well, you don't got to be a dick about it. I said, I didn't start this conversation, you did. And they're kind of like, well, I said, dude, I didn't come to you saying you needed to change you to up level your life. I was saying, if you're happy with you, you be you and let me be me. Cool. Like, last time I checked, you came to me for resources that I have because of the work that I do. And well, okay. Yep. Okay. Fair. Okay. Now we're on the same page. And then I have a very neutral energy with it and just let it go. But this has took years of developing into this type of a frame. And then with some of the people that we just X out, I've got family, like siblings, that I out. It's like, until they show up different, they're out. If they show up different, I will start the conversation again. If they prove after 2 years, 2 to 5 years, that they are actually different, they're more than welcome to come in. And I don't do this in a way of saying, I hate this person or anything else. It's just, this person exhausts energy, and they are a taker because they are insecure with who they are and just need to find themselves. And hopefully they'll find themselves. I tried to help, got to the point where I was like, nope, no, I'm not the person to help. I'm just not. So you go do your thing. Wish you guys the best. Have fun. Go. And I'm completely content and happy with that. and I get to spend my time and energy with other people that actually support me. But I have definitely been through some ups and downs, the quitting drinking. Some people have said stuff, changing behaviors and patterns and whatever. But what I've found is even if you change, you can always go back, and it's a little weird sometimes, but if you're cool, they're cool. And then they will show you the respect. And that's something that is a delayed gratification, where I've got friends that party still. I used to party with them, and they're like, "Oh, come on, you're no fun," blah blah blah, back, way back. But now if I see them, I'll stop, I'll BS them, I'll have a little conversation and this and that, and we'll talk about what we're doing and back and forth, and they're always respectful and always kind, and we have a good little talk, and then we move on, and it's good. But they're not my close associations because I don't want the influence of partiers around me all the time. But I like to connect with people. But in the beginning, it was a little bit of pain in the butt. I could have took it personal, isolated, cast them out, and they would no longer be a friend. And I see people do that a lot, and many, many, many times. It's like you don't actually have to do that. A lot of times when people get rough around the edges and they get all, if you just give them some time and then show back up and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Blah 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 blah. They're like, "Why are you talking to me?" But if you just keep talking, then they start talking, and then pretty soon it's like normal, and you've created a new set point with them, and they understand you, and you understand them, and everything's peaceful. So there's just a little bit of a disruption that has to go into that.
Because at first, when you're like changing and growing and getting into new circles and stepping into this new version of you, like, um, people people in your immediate circle don't necessarily want to see you outgrow them, because I said it reflects back onto them. And so, but if you stay with it and stay consistent in your growth and what you're doing, eventually they will just come to realize, oh, that's just who she is, or that's just who he is now. And they like are more accepting after time goes on, but it takes consistency in and with what you want to do. Somebody told me one time that like um your friends and family won't support you until strangers start celebrating you.
Mm,
So you figure out what you want, the path you want to go, you start on that path, you find people who have what you want, you surround yourself with those people, and when those people really start supporting you and celebrating you, then your friends and your family that aren't moving in the same direction, then they will start to see, oh, like she's actually serious about this,
yeah.
right?
Not only that, but they'll begin to want what you have.
They'll begin to want what you have, as long as like, so for me, um, I just I don't try to argue, or I just know that if I go to those people, I call them my left hand people, but if I go to those people and try to talk to them about what gets me excited, if I feel like they're pulling me down, I just don't talk to them about what excites me anymore. Like I literally don't. And that's why it's important to find new people to talk to get excited with them. And the goal is you just keep growing, you keep building up your confidence in what you're doing, and you keep just becoming the best version of you, setting the example in hopes that your people that were once pulling you down choose a new path as well, a less toxic path, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the big things is when you're like in order to really dominate this conversation, the more content you are with your own personal life, the less likely anybody can derail you. If my life is good in my relationship, in my finances, in my spirituality, and in my business, and all those different things, and my body's good, somebody says something to me that's like kind of dumb, I'm be like, Okay. Like, do you think I care? No, I don't care. Now, I might engage them for entertainment purposes, but it doesn't mess with my energy. It's like it's just entertainment for me at that point. So keeping in mind that if you're getting derailed, it probably has more to reflect on you than it does necessarily on them. And the higher you work up the ladder, the less you care. And it gets to a point when you get successful, you kind of have to expect haters, right? And not only expect them, but you kind of appreciate them to some degree. And I've had plenty through different things I've done, and been able to convert many of them into supporters because they always think I'm arrogant or aggressive. And it's like, yeah, yeah, I get it. And so because I'm okay with myself, I'm just like, I expected it, right? Like I almost expected it to happen. So I'm like, all right. But what's fascinating about a hater is they give you great opportunities to teach other people, not them. So socially on social media, in forums and different things like that, when somebody comes at me, I take it as an opportunity to kind of educate, but I'm not trying to educate them because they're going to hang on to their defenses. But everything I say touches somebody else in a different way. I'm trying to open minds to see something different. And so if the opportunity presents, I will continue a conversation in that way. And it's fun for me. I don't know about them. I would assume they enjoy it, even if they say they don't, because why else would they do it? But I'm definitely usually not enrolling them. Occasionally they will they will start looking, and I think it usually benefits in the long run. But it's just something where if you're content with yourself, like really genuinely content with yourself, then nobody can take you out. And so make sure that you're not telling lies, that you're being honest. That's the spiritual part. Make sure that your finances are in somewhat of order, that you're not, emotionally spending more than you earn. Make sure your body is in some way, like you should be treating yourself well, health in your health, and continuing that. You don't have to be perfect to be content, especially if you're working on yourself consistently. And if there's any kind of improvement, it's very easy to be content in those moments. And in your relationships, if your relationship is crap, you're going to struggle because that's literally what a back and forth might be with these people. But ultimately, you can't care. There's a one of my mentors would say, you have to care, but just not that much. And he says about everything, like your relationships, your money, everything. And it's such a true statement because if you care too much, it's just going to wipe you out. But if you care a little bit, but not that much, in other words, somebody says something, does something, and remember, I had a business that got wiped out. Every client, almost every friend, there were less than a people on my hands that there's a lot of people who said they were my friends, but when it came down to it, they weren't. And many of them were backstabbers. Many of them spread rumors and different thing. And one of our own people actually got in my email and blasted an email to everybody saying that I was being investigated by the FCC, I think, which wasn't even the appropriate organization for what was going on. It was all just slander. Anyway, it was kind of a BS thing, but it's still, it comes out like this, and I just laughed. It was like, what are you going to do? And not only that, but when it happened and I got the notification, I was driving through the mountains and I couldn't do anything about it. And so here I am. I know it went out. I just get the notification. I see it. I'm driving through the mountains. I don't know when the next service opportunity is going to be to kind of send out a counter to this and change my passwords. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, okay, well, whatever this is, there must be something better on the other side. This I can see it coming. It's total destruction that's happening right now. But God has a plan, and it's gonna be total destruction. So you have to care, but just not that much. So when you're letting go of toxic people, you can still care, but just not that much, because when you clear a room, then better people come in. Then your energy gets to go towards what you want and the relationships that are worth having. And you let those other people go figure out their path. And if they get bad enough at the right time, maybe they say, hey, how'd you do it? And then at that point, if you're elevated high enough, you can be maybe able to help them. But I don't even do that. When somebody says, hey, how'd you do it? I say, go talk to this person, because it's actually better for me to delegate to a third party authority than to try to work that back and forth, because it's very easy for somebody close to you to justify their position, and it's harder for you to just tell them, kind of hit them in the face. It's a little more challenging, whereas like a third party authority can just tell them that isn't going to work, or you need to do this, and because it's kind of not a friendship, they keep their mouth shut and just do it. So anything you want to add to?
I feel like on this topic, I could personally add a lot and talk a long time about this,
Yeah.
but I don't know how
Yeah,
much longer we
yeah,
wanna
maybe we'll
go.
just cut it here, and then on another one, I'd like to get into, this is a subject of kind of the unsupportive. I would actually like to, we'll do another one on actual support, like what to look for when it comes to support, because the super wealthy get it because they're trained that way, whereas a lot of us that grow up and figure this out, we don't get it, and so there's this switch that you have to learn how to do through life. So maybe we'll talk about that on one of the next ones. But for now, hope you enjoyed it and kind of give you some perspectives on, moves that need to make, and you can sit down and look at some of the relationships and say, is this actually serving me? Even though emotionally, all relationships are serving you, because as humans, we seek connection. And there's indigenous tribes that the worst thing you can do is be cast out of the tribe. And a lot of times when someone does something wrong and they basically get cast out, they will typically die within several days, 3 days to 12 days. They'll just die because they have no connection. They have no reason for living.
This is why we stay in relationships with people longer than we should.
Yeah.
Because if a relationship feels toxic, like we will settle for like low level connection is better than none.
Yeah. Then, because it's painful.
Mhm.
So you kind of, yeah, there's, but, I've found from some of those lonely times, a lot of clarity and a lot of healing in those times of being able to kind of, because it forces you to look at yourself
Mhm.
instead of just jumping into the next toxic thing and the next toxic thing, and running in circles. So yeah, there's a lot to cover in this, but just ask yourself the question: what relationships are not serving me and probably not going to serve me, and is it time to just tell them, just say, hey, I need to do something a little different for a while. I don't think this relationship is benefiting either one of us. And if I try and maintain it between now and through the changes, I think it's just going to get worse. So why don't we just catch up in 6 months, once in a while? Just give it, find a way to negotiate, or just do something different. Just walk away. And you can also just cast them out. Say, wish you the best. Bye. Gone. So, all right. We'll leave you with that. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to the next one. And anybody that's looking for more support and more of the mental stuff that's required to get this done, or coaching, or whatever it is, we have a membership, the Evolution membership, where we have a call once a week where you can connect with other like-minded people, a private group where you can ask questions and get help, or just get around and associate with some of those people that are also working with each other and elevating their vibration so that they can begin manifesting better results in their life and having better relationships, more love, more money, all of it. Okay. We will see you on the next one.
Bye.